There he is, the one, the only, the victorious Sean Brady. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Back in Philly, just doing a couple of interviews. I was just on the other line with Dean Thomas, and it was supposed to be Matt Serra, but he didn't show up, so I'm a little disappointed in that. But nah, it's good. I'm back home with my wife, my dog, my family, just chilling. So yeah, life is good.
Man, listen, Sean, that was a phenomenal performance on Saturday. I think this is the first time we've really had a conversation, but I got to say, I've been a big admirer for a long time. What you bring to the octagon really is something special. But to go out there and to dominate Gilbert, and I say that with respect to Gilbert because
of course,
everyone respects him. He's an absolute legend of a guy and a fighter. But to dominate him the way that you did over 5 rounds, unbelievable, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it was like we talked in the octagon, obviously, it's funny. Someone was saying to me about me resting on you, and I'm like, man, you know better than anybody. 5 rounds in that octagon is completely different than any run we can do, any sparring we can do. It's just completely different. So I was just so proud of myself that I did that against a guy like Gilbert, who has beat the shit out of Tyron Woodley over 5 rounds, beat up all these guys, and he has a great gas tank himself. So for me to stay a step ahead of him was just a feather in my cap. And I'm just proud of myself, proud of my performance, and always just looking to get better. But it was definitely a good one.
Yeah, well, you should be proud. And we'll talk about what's next and everything in just a second. But you mentioned the cardio thing there. Yeah, you are supposed to be tired at the end of 5 rounds. I loved it when you were leaning on me. Like, this looks cool as hell. So talk to me about that, though, because I know you're up there in Philly. I know you're training with Paul Felder. You're riding bikes. Seems like you're pushing yourself to the absolute limit at all times. And I said this on Saturday. Oh, no, I said it on Twitter, I think. It's crazy that you can still maintain the amount of muscle that you have and the power that you have with the amount of cardio that you're doing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, so Joe Pfeiffer, one of my main training partners, his fight was in, it was International Fight Week. So I was at the PI doing a bunch of testing. I was 193 or 194 when I was out there, and my body fat was 9% at 194. So like, I had like the most muscle, like I'm at like over. They have like a range of muscle mass you're supposed to have in your weight class, and I'm like above it. So like, for me to make 170, it's literally all water. So like, I go from 190 to 170 in a week. But I do so much conditioning, and this camp I really focused a lot more on doing all my conditioning. Like, I do a lot of biking and running, but I tore my like you, and I've heard you talk about how much you love running. I'm obsessed with running, and I think it's one of the best things for your conditioning. But I tore my groin 2 times running, so I only run like 1 or 2 times a week now. But I do everything else on the Echo bike. But realistically, sparring and actual training is where I try to get like everything this camp, of just in those rounds pushing myself to the absolute max in each round. And I kind of felt like the fight was the same way. I wasn't thinking about the 5th round and the 1st round. I was just focusing on 1 round at a time. And like you said, you're going to get tired, but it's having that ability to be able to recover and still, just because you're tired doesn't, we're tired when we're running, we're tired when we're sparring.
Thank you.
But you can still push. My heart rate was like 34 in my sleep this training camp. There's no heart rate. There's nothing that you're going to get tired no matter what. There's no steroids, PEDs. You're always going to get tired, but it's how can you recover? How do you perform under fatigue, because you can perform like shit under fatigue, or you can continue to make smart decisions. And I feel like that's what I did a lot in this fight, was just try to keep my feet moving, keep moving around, never staying in one spot so Gilbert could land that big shot, and it paid off.
I'm so glad you said that, because I talk about this a lot, and people say, oh, Bisping's saying the same thing again.
Yeah.
People don't understand it until they've done it. Yep. I used to get tired. Yep. You got tired. We all get tired, but it's that mental choice, because we all want to step off the gas. We all want to say, you know what, I'm exhausted, so I'm not going to push through it because our lungs are burning. They're on fire. We can't breathe. But are you tough enough, and do you want it bad enough to continue pushing? Because we all want to stop. And I talk about that. It is a mental choice to a certain degree. So I'm glad you said that.
No, 100%. It's like when you're out in the middle of a I'm sorry. I knew I was
No,
supposed to
no,
say
no.
that.
Go ahead, fill your boots. Don't worry.
When you're running and you're running miles at a certain pace, at a certain heart rate, you want to stop, but
Yes.
you don't stop. And like unless you want to be a quitter, like you don't stop.
Yeah.
Like you don't stop in the middle of the run. So yeah,
I remember running through my neighborhood, and my neighbors were like, "What is it?" I'm like, with every bloody step, I'm hating every second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying myself,
No,
but I want to win the fight.
Exactly.
I want to be victorious, and that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yep.
Quick question. You said you pulled your groin. Just recently, I was in Manchester for 304, and on the weigh-in show, we had to run like a 40-yard dash. We had to do some sprints. It was like just messing around, being stupid.
Yeah.
And at 45 years old, though, I was still competitive. I'm like, I'm winning this. Yeah. So I set off sprinting, and I pulled my groin. And that was, 6-7 weeks ago, and it's still not improving. Every time I try and run, I can still feel it there.
Yeah.
How long did that take to go away for you?
So I had a partial tear. I was right. If it was torn a little bit more, I would have needed the surgery, but I was right at the point where I still could get away without doing surgery and doing physical therapy. But man, it took months of because I tore my groin. I did rehab for a couple weeks. I'm like, all right, I'm better. I went back to training, tore it again a little bit. And then I'm like, all right, I just need to not train and do PT. So I didn't train for about a month. And I did hardcore PT, and about 2 months, it was getting better. But I'm not even going to lie. Like to this day, like if I go run like a hard 5-mile run at like a 6-something mile an hour pace, like my groin it'll hurt. Like I'll be sore.
And let me ask, because I'd never pulled my groin before, so I was worried. I was like, have I got bloody cancer on my balls or something? It's literally just above.
It's your balls.
Yeah. I'm like, what's going on here? Have I got testicular cancer or something?
So that pain, it shoots into your nuts. I was like, I have ball cancer. I was terrified to say, because you know how we are, we're all like, oh, we don't want to. I was like, I'm not going to the doctor. I was like, I'm just going to ride this out, and I guess I'm just going to die of testicular cancer.
It's ball cancer.
It got to a point where I would walk, and I was in so much pain. My wife's a nurse. She was like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, my balls are killing me.
She's like, what have you been doing?
Luckily it turned out it was just a torn adductor. But that was one of the worst injuries ever.
No, it's a pain in the ass or the balls. So Gilbert Burns, I mean, we were all excited to see you. You're known for your grappling, and Gilbert go at it on the ground. And there were elements of that. But what was so impressive from both of you is that the way, I mean, Gilbert's explosivity and, of course, the technique that he uses as well. When you were getting him down, he had an answer for everything, but then you had an answer for him. Some of the scrambles were crazy.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. And that's what I was looking forward to the most is I'm a competitor at the end of the day. I want to test myself against some of the best guys in the world. And I don't have the world championship accolades in jiu-jitsu just because I never went and competed that at that level, which I would still like to do. But I knew I could win those scrambles and I could take him down. I can control him. But I just wanted to get in there and feel it. And man, he's as good as ever. He's really tricky on the ground. Like the way he would, when I took him down, he'd roll through and grab my leg. I think it was 2 times where he did something like that. I'm like, man, where the last 2 takedowns, I was able to actually floor him to the ground and secure him. But if you give him space, and I knew this, you give him space, he's scrambling, he's getting back to his feet. Gilbert's big, he's strong. And he's one of the best in the world for a reason. So it was an awesome fight. For me as a fan too. I went back and watched it, and I'm like, man, this was a good fun fight.
And the thing is now as well, because, and I saw you talking about this last week, which I really loved, by the way, the toxic assholes out there on Twitter that talk crap about fighters. It's become a very, very popular thing. Yep. Let's talk shit when they have no idea what we go through, what it takes to do this, the courage it takes to just step in the octagon, let alone fight, to think that you're going to do this for a living and then to follow it through and to do all of that. And then now, of course, Gilbert's going to be, there's people out there, he's lost 3 in a row, he's done, he's cooked, his career's over.
It's already began, yeah. It's crazy. You have a few missteps, right? And then same thing with me when I fought Belal. I was 15-0. I lost 1 fight, and then I sucked. And then you have to sit in that. I was horrible. I was the worst fighter in the world. But it's just crazy how it's people who would never have the balls to do what we do and put their literally their life on the line and go out there and fight another man in a cage. Like it's just they just don't have what we have inside of us, and they're jealous. They and that's why they talk shit to us, because they could never do what we do, and that's why we're out there and they're at home in the stands.
They are normally fat little pussies.
Yeah,
Don't leave their
And
mom's basement.
Yeah, in their mom's basement with some Cheetos on their fingers.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
Hey,
true.
but
It's true.
There's also great fans who win or
the best.
lose, win or lose. Like we have so much support, but there's those trolls out there for sure.
No, dude, it's more popular to talk shit these days. So let's keep it down. Now, yeah, there's great fans. The UFC's got the best fans in the world. But if you're one of those dickheads, kiss our asses.
Kiss our asses.
Kiss our asses. You mentioned Belal Muhammad there. Of course, the only loss on your record, 17-1. I mean, what a record that is, first of all. The loss to Belal, of course, that has aged incredibly well, right? I mean, he's now the champion of the world. 100%. But if you could go back and do that fight again, what would you change?
Just I mean, that fight was, if you go back and watch it, it was very competitive until I got caught with a shot and I didn't throw punches back when he was hitting me. It's more about, I just wasn't present in that moment. Like something happened to where I got clipped and my focus was just somewhere else. And I just took my eye off the prize for 1 minute. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, but I started working with mental coaches after that. And it was the best thing I ever did, because we always work on the physical, but we never work on the mental side. And I think I needed to just take a step back and really work on my mind and just we're all fighters, but a lot of us lack a lot of confidence. And that's something I lacked in myself, where that's why I train so hard and love martial arts, is because that's how you build confidence. But even to this level, 15-0, I kind of felt like I didn't belong there. But now if you look at my last 2 fights, doing the media, doing all this stuff, and then my fights, obviously, I feel like I truly belong here and I'm one of the best in the world. And just going into that fight, if it does happen again for the belt or #1 contender, just being confident in who I am as a fighter and knowing that I can beat anybody in the world. And that's what I proved to myself Saturday night.
Yeah, no, without question. I mean, after that fight, you did go and listen, and I say it respectfully, because I said some things about Kelvin Gastelum, and he came at me on Twitter. He shot me a little DM. He said, "I can't wait to see you in person." I'm like, I said, "Well, you just lay off the Jimmy bars in the meantime, buddy, but I look forward to it." So kiss my ass. But you whooped him like no one's ever done that. You went out there, you dominated him, eventually got the Kimura. Now you've just beaten Gilbert Burns. So it doesn't matter. The one loss to the champ is way in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
So what's the future look like? You mentioned Ian Garry on Saturday night. I know there's Colby Covington, but Ian would be a popular one.
Yeah, Ian would be a popular one because he's like Colby, where he has that, like, either people hate him or love him. Most people hate him. But Ian actually goes out there and fights. Colby just doesn't fight. He hasn't fought in a year. There's been no talk of him fighting again. So he's ranked ahead of me. I'll be ranked ahead of Ian tomorrow when the rankings come out, but I would still fight him because he has a huge name. And he has a lot of value to him. But Colby would be fun too, just because of him fighting for the belt, being an interim champion, and people still think that he has he holds a lot of stock in this division, but I don't even think he belongs in the top 10, top 15. The last guy he beat was Masvidal. Masvidal's retired, and that's the last win this guy has. So I think either one of those guys make perfect sense.
Well, speaking of mental coaches, Ian Garry might need one soon. I don't know if you saw, his wife was posting videos of him kicked out of his house, and he's standing there with the flowers and everything, serenading. I'm like, listen, hey, I'm arguing with my missus all the time, so there's no judgment. But why is she putting it on social media?
And even if you're not good with your missus, like I've told my wife this before, and she's been with me since my last amateur fight all the way through my pro career. So I was 19 or 20 when I met her. So I'm 31 now. We've been together for 11 years. We have our first baby on the way.
Nice.
I was like, listen, don't go online. Because she's very protective of me. I'm sure your wife's the same way. She's like, she wants to go online and go at these people. I'm like, I would never allow you to do that, because then they're going to try to come at you. And then that's going to start a completely different thing. Like, we got to leave our significant others out of this, whereas I think Ian, she's in everything. And I know from like other people that she's always like in everyone's ear when they're at the UFC, and she's like running this kid's career. Like, bro, run your own shit. Like, be a man, run your own career, and especially posting videos like that. Like, and I'm sure they're trying to do it to be funny or whatever they're trying to do, but it just it makes you look so weak, and like this new era of men is he just looks like a pussy. Like to be completely honest.
Yeah, to your point, I think he was just like trying to be funny and all the rest of it. You know,
but he already has that thing attached to him with his. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The whole. I'm not saying. They say the whole cook thing. That's not me. That's not me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'd love to see that matchup. I think stylistically,
me too.
It'd be great for you. But you are now, I mean, you're in the conversation without a shadow of a doubt. In your opinion, Gilbert Burns, Belal Muhammad, right, there's a little talk about who's going to be next in line. I mean, I think you'd probably, with respect, need one more. One more,
100%.
And I think you'd get that.
100%.
Who do you think should fight Belal next?
It's hard because I've been hearing the same talks. It's like there's Shavkat, but if you look at Shavkat, amazing record, undefeated, all finishes. His last fight was Wonder Boy, and I love Wonder Boy. All respect to Wonder Boy, but he's 41 years old. He's a striker. You know, when you're a striker, the older you get, the harder it is to be at the top of your game. Whereas like a grappler, there's guys who are 45 years old winning ADCC. So it's hard for him to be at his best. So I would like to see like maybe like a Shavkat and a JDM fight, and then the winner of that. And then there's Usman. And then people are saying, well, Usman's lost his last 3. But it's like he was beating Leon until he wasn't. Then he lost to Leon. And then he lost to Hamza at 185. So I don't know. Like, I truly think it's almost a point where, like, we always want to see the champion be active. I almost think Belal deserves to sit and let a couple of these chess pieces play out. Like, even me and whoever I fight in December or January. And then another fight's down the line, or like, but you don't know because Jack Della had that staph infection after he fought Gilbert Burns. That was in March, and there's still no talk of him coming back. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. It could be Shavkat, it could be the winner of him and JDM, or it could be Usman. Like, the UFC's done crazier things, you know. So it'll be interesting.
I tell you what's interesting as well, seeing you not talk shit, not saying, listen, Belal needs to be active and all the rest of it. It is actually refreshing to see. So fair play to you for that. Yeah. I've got to ask you about this. I mean, you have got some serious tattoos, Sean Brady.
Yeah.
What is that thing on your back? Because I've seen that kind of logo before. What is that?
It's a Japanese Hanya mask.
That's it.
It's a Japanese. I have it. Aspinall has one on his back. So there's so many different versions of it.
Aspinall, he's got the same thing.
Volkov, Alexander Volkov has one. So
Is this like the 2024 version of like the Angel Wings?
No.
Tony Ferguson. There's a bunch of them. I think Dustin Poirier.
Tony Ferguson, Benson Henderson. They all have.
It's the 2024 Angel Wings.
Most of my tattoos are all Japanese, but Japanese tattoos and culture is like timeless. Like, you can look at Japanese bodysuits, meaning tattoos from 40 years ago, and they still will look good today if they were done well. And that's what I like about this. It's just big, like dragons and tigers and stuff like that. So I just think it all, like, people are always like, what's the meanings behind it? I'm like, I know some of the meanings, but this shit just looks cool. Like, it's art. It's art. I'm out there and I'm like a big canvas, so I just get to display it.
Yeah, no, I'm far from a tattoo guy, so I don't know all the conversations and all the points and the technicalities. Sick ink, bro. But I do know what looks good, and that shit on you looks good. But I gotta say, you're covered in it. At what point did you just think, you know what? Screw this. I'm going all in.
Oh, man. I knew since I was young I wanted to be fully covered, and I'm pretty close to that. But it started off as like when I was younger fighting, I didn't have money. So every time I fought and I got a little bit of money, I'd add a new tattoo. So it became like after a ritual. Fight thing, it became like a ritual. And then it became the point where I started having more money and I could afford to get good tattoos. So I just kept doing it. Now I'm at the point where I have a little bit of room left and I'll only get them like here and there because I'm so obsessed with training that I hate missing training. And I would get tattooed and then go train the next day. And you're supposed to sit out for like a couple of weeks when you get tattooed. And I just never do it. And like the rate that you could get an infection in your skin is so high that I don't even want to take that chance anymore. Where like I've literally gotten tattooed and gone and trained the same night, which is the dumbest thing you could ever do. But
yeah, I had neck surgery 2 weeks ago and I'm lifting weights already. We're idiots.
What'd you have done to your neck?
I had a disc replacement.
Did you?
Yeah. You see
how's it feel?
It's not great.
You had your knees. You had your knees done too, right?
Knees are replaced. 2 plates in my neck. Disc replaced. Eye replaced.
And
what else?
Are you back running on those knees? I seen something.
When I haven't pulled a groin, I'm running every day because I love it.
Really?
I just love it.
Yeah, I know. I've been following you forever, and it always just sounds like you're just always in the gym because you love it, and that's. For me, it's just like that. It's literally our job. Like I know guys who won't train for months after they fight until they get in there. I'm like, this is literally your job. Like this is the only thing you're supposed to be doing. Why would you be doing anything else? And guys hate running. The excuses about the running. It's like, no, you're just a pussy and you don't want to run. Like that's what it is.
Correct. And then they come out with all these new ways and new science of not to run.
There's I'm sitting I have my treadmill behind me. I have the Echo bike. I have all the tools. There's nothing that replaces running. There's nothing that replaces that. If you can't go run distance, go do hill sprints. You have to move those legs. And guys just don't want to do it because it's hard. That's it.
Yeah. And I always say this, but Jason Perillo, my boxing coach, I went to him at the start of one camp one day and I'm like, so my strength and conditioning coach doesn't want me doing as much running for this camp because it's going to wear me down. And he said, no, you know why he doesn't want you to go running? I said, why? He said, because running's free. He can't charge you for it. And I'm like, again,
that's the easiest thing to tell someone, go run. And then when people are like, oh, I'm going to go, I ran 2 miles. I'm like, listen, 2 miles ain't doing dick for you. It's like for me, it's like 3. Like I'm even at the point now, like I won't go run unless I'm running for 5 miles, like minimum 5 miles. And I'm not saying you have to be out there dogging it the entire time, but I think it's just freeing. Like I'll go run in the trails, I'll get out in the woods, and I'll just be one with nature. You know, there's nothing like it. People are afraid to be alone with their thoughts. I think that's what it is.
I've said this so many times, but it's literally the best part of my day. It's not like I'm some workout maniac. My wife would say that I am. I need it for my mental health. I feel so much better, so much more relaxed. I'm focused. I'm dialed in. I also like to enjoy the finer things in life. I like maybe a little bit too much alcohol and stuff like that. So I work it off in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I clear my head.
You're a world champion already. You've done so much, and you can, if you're still here putting in work, and you deserve a little alcohol and a little cheesesteak and like.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Last question. We'll let you go in a second, and thanks for your time. The first time we've spoken, dude, I could do this all day. Tell me a little bit about Sean Brady as a young man, and like, what was your path into finding yourself being a professional fighter?
Man, I knew when I was younger, I always wanted to be a professional something. Like I used to skateboard when I was younger. I rode dirt bikes. I did a bunch of like crazy stuff, and I always wanted to be a pro athlete. And then I started training, and I found Muay Thai, and then I found Jiu-Jitsu, and eventually I kept training. I had a couple amateur fights, and I was training with Felder and some of these other guys, and they're like, man, I was like 19 at the time, helping them prepare for big fights, and they're like, just stick with this and you can be really, really good at it. And so I always want to be like money and all that stuff. Like if I could become UFC champion and nobody know my face, I would do it 100%. Because I don't do it for the fans. I don't do it for other validations. I do it because I want to be a UFC champion. And the money and all that, being able to support my family is nice, but I would do this shit for free. And I know a lot of people say that, but I would truly work a 9 to 5. And I would wake up at 5 or 4 a.m. and work out, and then I would train. I would find a way because I just love it so much. But I remember being a young kid. Like, I'm a huge fan of GSP, just the way he fights and just him as a martial. I consider myself a martial artist. Fighting is something I do, but I'm not just a fighter. I feel like I'm a martial artist, and I'm going to be a martial artist till the day I die. So the way GSP lived and the way that he still trains and eats, and like that's how I want my life to be. You know, I want to be a world champion. I want to get there by not talking shit, taking the hard fights, and getting there the right way. And I look at myself when I was 15, I'm 31 now. I think I'm doing a pretty good job of being on the path that I wanted to be on.
Oh, no, you're absolutely smashing it. As you said, George St. Pierre, Demetrius Johnson as well. There's another guy that's exactly the same way. I know.
Just retired and had an amazing career and still had a lot of juice left in the tank, but he's paying to compete in jiu-jitsu tournaments. And I'm going to be the same way. Like, I love it. Like, it's what I do. And I know there's a lot of guys who aren't like that, and that's fine, but that's not me. I'm going to spar, do jiu-jitsu. I want to learn, and I want to be the best version of myself until the day I leave this earth.
It's beautiful, Sean. It really is. And the performance Saturday was beautiful. Congratulations. I'm excited for your future. Thanks for your time today. And
thank you.
I'll leave you to it, my man.
Let's do it again, man. This was the blast.
Let's do it, buddy.
I feel like I can talk to you all day.
Awesome. Oh, dude, all day. Get out of here. Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you, bro.
My man.